All right, folks, the divisional round is in the books, and we are down to the final four in the NFL season. And I'm going to start by saying I was wrong on absolutely everything this week. I was 0-4 on the teams I picked to win, and I was 1-3 against the spread. Just a horrible week as far as our picks went, and I could not have been more wrong about the Seahawks-Niners game. That was an absolute blowout. I had the Niners winning that game and upsetting the Seahawks. So bad on me, but we'll jump into the games here. So number one, I'm going to start with the game last night. Incredible game between the Bears and Rams, goes to overtime. The Rams kick a field goal in overtime to win it. I had no confidence that kicker was going to make that field goal at all, but it went through the uprights, and the Rams are advancing. And the Rams had about two good drives all night. It felt like they had 2.5 straight quarters where they couldn't do absolutely anything. And I thought this was pretty impressive by the Bears here last night. If you look at the Bears team, and if you're a fan of the Bears, if you would have told them before the season that you're going to be in the divisional round playoffs in overtime with the Rams, I think every single Bears fan would have signed up for that. Huge accomplishment by the Bears to make it this far. They fall a little bit short. I thought Caleb Williams for the second week in a row made one of the best throws I've ever seen, but he did have 3 interceptions, and I thought one was really bad. And you go back to that one in overtime, you can say maybe it was his fault, maybe it was the receiver's fault. I don't know whose it was, but they needed about 15 more yards to get in position to win that game, and they turned it over. And I think Caleb is really good. I think he's got to get a little bit better on his accuracy and not miss so many of the layups, but he can throw the ball as hard as anyone I've ever seen in the NFL. And when he takes off and runs with it, it looks like he's Josh Allen, only faster running with the ball. I think he should have taken off with it a few more times than he did last night, but they fall just short. The Rams are now in the championship game against the Seahawks and they'll play for the third time this season. And I think the Seahawks are going to take it to the Rams next weekend, but we'll see how that plays out. Number 2. I don't think there should be anyone angrier in the NFL right now than the Texans defense. They hold the Patriots to 248 yards. And they lose by 12 points. And that defense was absolutely ferocious. If they had any competency at quarterback yesterday, the Texans win that game. I thought CJ Stroud played one of the worst playoff games that I've ever seen. He had 4 interceptions in the game, and before he even threw any of those interceptions, Joe Buck said almost picked 3 of his first 5 passes. He could have had 10 interceptions. And even when he wasn't turning the ball over, it felt like everything was behind the receivers. Everything was off target. He missed at least 5 to 6 open receivers during this game. He was absolutely horrible. And after the first half, I thought they were going to pull the plug and go to Davis Mills. I think they should have. He couldn't do absolutely anything. And there during the game, I thought it was really strange because Troy Aikman kept saying, I wonder if he's injured or has a hand injury, which is really strange to me because he's barely any better than Davis Mills to begin with. And if he's not 100% and he's playing that bad, then he's got to come out of the game and give the team a chance because this is a championship defense and their quarterback absolutely let them down. I don't know what they do with him going back into next year because he was horrible all year. And this is a team that's talented enough to win the Super Bowl, and their quarterback just let them down. Without those 4 turnovers, they win this game. And he just played horrible. And from a Patriots standpoint, I think if you make the Super Bowl, anytime you make the Super Bowl, it's a huge accomplishment. But if they win next week and they go to the Super Bowl, I think this will be the easiest path to the Super Bowl that any team has ever had. They had the easiest strength of schedule of any team since 1999, which allowed them to get to the 2 seed. Then they play the Chargers, who were absolutely depleted at offensive line. They're really just a shell of themselves. Then they get C.J. Stroud, and now they get Jared Stidham with Bo Nix being injured on the one of the last plays of the game last week. So they could get to the Super Bowl, and we could really not be any sure if they're any good. But a huge win by them nonetheless. They pick off C.J. Stroud 4 times, and they're moving on. Number 3. I believe this was Josh Allen's best chance to ever get to a Super Bowl, and they fall short. And I thought he did some incredible things during that game, but he also turned the ball over 4 times. And the turnover at the end of the half is absolutely inexcusable. It gifted the Broncos 3 free points. You could say maybe there's some touchy calls in there, but nonetheless, he turned the ball over 4 times in this game, and they are exiting early once again. And if everyone thinks Josh Allen's had all this great playoff success, he's only made it to the championship game 2 times. And no quarterback has ever went to the playoffs 8 times without making the Super Bowl and then gone on and to make it ever again. And next year is going to be his 8th season. And I don't know if this is ever going to happen for him. I think maybe it's a time for a change at coach. I think McDermott is okay, but I think maybe they just need someone to help him get over the hump. And I just don't know if it's ever going to happen for Josh Allen. If you look at the AFC, the Patriots right now are the 4th youngest team in the NFL. This is probably the worst that they're going to be in the next 5 years. You have the Broncos are going to be better next year. Patrick Mahomes is going to be better. You'd like to think the Ravens are going to be back to where they are. Maybe Burrow, he gets a little more help than he's had in the past. I just don't know if it's ever going to happen. I picked the Bills to win the Super Bowl this year, and they lose in the divisional round. And if you look at the Broncos in this game, I thought Bo Nix, this was probably one of the better games that he's played all season. I thought he made us a couple incredible throws. He breaks his ankle, and unfortunately he's out. Now it's Jared Stidham coming in for the championship game in the Super Bowl if they make it that far. So it'll be really interesting to see what he can do here in the championship game. And finally, number 4, I don't have a lot to say about the Seahawks 49ers. This was a beatdown from the beginning. They returned the opening kick for a touchdown. The 49ers only scored 6 points. Now, this is a pretty depleted 49ers team. But a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago, I said the Seahawks were the best team in the NFL. And then I picked against them this week, and I learned my lesson there because they looked like the best team in the NFL here. They were running the ball down 49ers' throat all game long. 49ers couldn't do much of anything on offense. Kenneth Walker had 3 touchdowns, and the 49ers only scored 6 points. And regardless of the injuries, Shanahan has only been held without a touchdown 4 times in his entire career. And 2 of those 4 times have come in the last 3 weeks against the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are going to cruise here. I think they're going to beat the Rams next week handily, and I think they're going to win whoever wins the AFC Championship, and I think the Seahawks are going to win the Super Bowl. I just think from top to bottom, they're the best team in the NFL. They don't have any holes on their team, and if they can play games like they did on Saturday night where Darnold doesn't have to do anything, he's not going to be turning the ball over if he's handing it off 40 times a game. I think they're going to be really tough to beat. And so that's how I see the rest of the season playing out. Championship weekend next weekend is going to be a lot of fun, and we'll talk to everyone later.